Hi, my name's Hannah the Planner. I help municipalities, developers, and designers to create healthy and playful cities to live, work, and grow up in. On this episode with Mustafa, we talk about why play is so important for cities, the impact of feeling and empathizing with people and places in urban practice, and an opportunity for you to come together with cities and urban practitioners all around the world by submitting your inspiring example of playful placemaking as part of the Real Play City Challenge. Enjoy!
Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Hannah, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I actually feel quite excited and chatty, literally, if a little bit hectic.
So where are you now? In which city, Hannah?
I'm right now sat in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, where I've been living for about 6 years.
Nice. So a lot of things going on now, like you have so many projects and things to do.
Yeah, I have a lot of personal things to do. I'm in the middle of moving house, these kind of things, which is part of the hectic part I mentioned. And yeah, different projects popping up, lots of changes actually in work, exciting new things getting going.
That's super cool. So where are you moving? Like, are you moving out of the country or like the same city?
So I've been living in the same place in Amsterdam for about 6 years now, and in the same apartment also, and I'm going to be moving in with my partner, but also into a community house, big house in like
What?
near the woods with like 14 people. I think the youngest person is 10 weeks old and the oldest person is in their 70s.
Like within the same house or like different?
Within the same house. So like different
Wow.
apartments, shared kitchens, shared spaces, shared garden.
This is super interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Maybe, yeah, maybe Hannah, like, let's see how is the experience will go. But like, if you want, like, I will be more than happy to do a podcast about it, like about this experience moving in a house with the 14 other people that you don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. I actually I have a feeling that like the more mixed the demographic in a house, the more sustainable it is. So I'm like curious to see if that works out.
Yeah, let's see. But is it common thing to do, like this kind of housing?
Yeah, fairly common. I've done more community living when I was living in London, but that was also a cost reason. So we would pile a bunch of people into a house because it was way too expensive to find an apartment in London. I actually featured in a newspaper, the Sunday Times, once as one of 7 people living in a house who couldn't afford to
Wow.
live in a house if we didn't live with 7 people. But I enjoy it. Yeah, I feel I enjoy being social with people and sharing common spaces. So
But let's do the podcast later then.
nice.
Anna, you are our storyteller. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your passion?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, my name's Hannah Wright. I'm known as Hannah the Planner, which actually started off as a joke because my studies were in urban planning, and I was an urban planner for quite some years. That's my background. And Hannah the Planner was words that I was trying to avoid the first time I was introducing myself professionally, and then in the end, it turned out to be my freelance business name. Quite memorable. So I'm an urban planner and also a knowledge and design integrator, and I have now about a decade of experience usually turning research projects into some kind of reality. And I do that through guidance, through policy guidance, visioning, strategy, and also design initiatives in international contexts. So most of my work now is based on the things I love most, which is healthy cities and also child-friendly cities. which I got to simply from my own experiences of caring about nature, noticing how much the city influenced my health and well-being, and um, also people coming to me and saying, "Hey, health is important. Kids are also important. Shouldn't more people think about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely. Let's do something about it."
When we like when we say play and playful cities, what do we mean by play in cities?
Yeah. So play, I'm talking about like the instinctive and spontaneous like life response to life way of living life. That's voluntary, and it's also a fundamental human right. So it's a vital part of how we interact day to day with other people, but also with ourselves. And it comes very naturally to us. It's like breathing. It's like smiling. It's like incredibly important for our own life experience. So that's what I mean by play. And
By play.
then
So it's not like the play as how we usually picture it, like a playground and you jump and move physically.
yeah, so this is one of the challenges I first tried to address. So the playing
Sorry,
can look
Hannah.
like very many different things. So the things
Yeah,
that you mentioned, yes, absolutely. But
yeah.
we do it all day, every day. Definitely as kids, especially as kids, but we do it throughout our lives as well. So it means definitely not just what happens on the playground, but like literally how you move through the city. So if you're running or jumping or walking or singing or looking around or socializing with other people, all of that is part of play.
So like every physical activity we do is could be part of a play.
Yeah, and also other like creative activities as well, musical activities. Also, like smelling the herb garden on the way to your park. That's also like part of play. It's like a very very broad experience.
And when we usually like talk about play or use word play, we start to picture kids as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's related to children and it's about children, not maybe so much for us adults. But when we start to talk about like playful cities and play in cities, what's in it for us adults? What is the benefit for us?
Yeah. So I think so. One of the challenges I think we have as adults is that we forget how to play, and we also forget what it's like to be a kid, which is very important because many of us will grow up to be caring for kids at some point in our lives. And one of the reasons that play is so important is simply that we forget how important it is. Um, so like play has its own benefits for kids in developing all the skills and resilience, the creativity, the innovation, the ability to deal with life challenges, like for your own life challenges. And for adults, that also passes on. Like, so if we play as kids, we will also grow up to be more resilient adults. But also, if adults experience kids playing in the street, that also has a huge impact on our well-being. If you imagine a public space where there are no kids, or that there's few people around, that's going to be far less safe feeling than when there are kids playing. You might be more prompted to strike up a conversation with a stranger or to interact somehow playfully yourself. So it kind of builds a trust and a neighborliness. It brings some kind of social cohesion, and it brings some relief to deal with like the stresses of the city
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
true. Maybe this question is a philosophical. Do you think that we adults forgot how to play, or we know how to play but we don't do that?
Mm. I don't think we actually forgot how to play. I think it's just like been put out of our mindset. Like it's right there. It's an instinct. You can't take it away. But I think that there are different pressures that you experience as you grow up, especially when you're living in a city. Could be making ends meet, working, juggling different priorities, the pace of contemporary life, mental stress, anxiety, all of these things, they contribute to reducing that natural instinct. And in the same way that we need to make space for creativity, we would need to make space for play as well.
True, because like we have it somewhere, but it's not in our prior list. Like usually I do like some kind of child-friendly city workshops. And when we start talk about like the past and their childhood, everyone like smiling and
Mm,
talking, you know. So it's easy, like you can see it in their eyes. They know they have been experiencing this, but it's just like not on our prior list as
yeah,
adults, you know. And
and
it's very sad.
yeah, and like you said, like it's very healing for people even to talk about how they used to play.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then if you engage in it as well, it's a great stress regulator. But as I said, like because it does kind of heal some of the challenges that we might also experience in the city fabric. Like maybe there is like polarization in the city, or maybe it's been hit with conflict, or all these different things. There, it can also have a huge role in healing certain traumas and making sure that they're not passed on to the next generation, or at least giving us a chance of that happening.
Exactly. And Hannah, like, why use placemaking for creating playful places? Why just like not just but placemaking?
Yeah. So placemaking I really like because it's a great way of catalyzing action, um, and because it's like quick and light and cheap, it's very easy to bring something into the public realm quickly, and to demonstrate what's actually possible. So um, it's if you couldn't convince a mayor to create more natural, less car dominant, more social public spaces for climate change reasons, or for, I don't know, transport lobby reasons, you will be able to convince them when you get a bunch of kids playing out on the street. And like that is like that, and also the way people feel and the response, like the realization that people have when they come together, and that the community can experience that and then ask for more of it, is really, really powerful. Yeah, it works as a great catalyst.
Yeah. Do you like work a lot with the placemaking? How close your project are to placemaking as a method?
Yeah, so I've done some placemaking projects myself, and often I'm trying to connect placemakers together. So there are many people who are trying to make efforts in creating healthier or child-friendly cities, like around the world, and they're all making you know inspiring examples, inspiring case studies that are all quite different depending on the culture and the context and what's happening in those places. And what I like to try to do is to share some of that knowledge and share those experiences, so that people can feel that they're not alone in doing this, and that they can learn from each other about what is working and what is not working, and support each other in bringing that together. Um,
How do you do that? Like, how do you
um,
share? Is it like social media or
Yeah,
web
no,
page?
so from some of the projects that I've been working on, so I did that already back at Arup with Designing for Urban Childhoods. This was a publication that we made to try and put on the agenda for more people to be thinking about urban childhoods. And there we pulled out a bunch of inspiring case studies about what was possible,
Mm,
to try and get things, get the momentum moving, and show the rationale for it. And since then, I've also worked on projects like with Urban 95 or on the Real Play City Challenge that I'll talk about a bit as well, where I'm trying to learn from all these different people and then share the knowledge on some kind of like international platform. So telling their experiences and sharing them to different audiences. So
yeah,
it means connecting with placemakers, but also my role is connecting placemakers with decision makers. So
exactly.
cities, do you have space to create some of these placemaking initiatives? And if you're struggling to create that space, can I help you to navigate your governmental organization to make it happen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So based on your like experience and working with so many different organizations and partners, what should we as urban practitioners stop doing when we plan and design cities?
So stop making any assumption that other people are like we are, or think the way we think, spatially or otherwise. To kind of be aware, start becoming more and more aware that everybody has different priorities and different perspectives on the cities, and it's important for us to design for those different perspectives. And most people are not urban planners, most people are not architects, and it requires a different way of thinking, or at least an awareness of those different priorities that people might have and the different experiences that they have. So we have the skills to influence their journeys through the city, or their movements through the city every day, and we have a responsibility to do that. Also, adults have a responsibility to do that for kids, and I would love to encourage more understanding of the different ways that people behave and why.
Do we need to learn a new skill or skills in order to do that, or do we have the skills? What do you think?
I think something that's great to develop is empathy. So again, it's like this understanding of the different ways that people behave and why that is, and also to take that with a compassionate perspective, like understanding like the real challenges of getting from A to B with a 3-year-old, or several children, or doing that on your way to work, or making a commute on a very busy train, or dealing with air pollution in the city. Like all of these things are super challenging, and if we can take the time to understand that and to actually have a conversation about it, I think that the planning and design decisions that we're proposing or that we're making will also be more compassionate and more healing as an effect. So I would encourage that kind of same empathic, same playful way of doing things, as well as the actions that we take. I think it's also normal for like if you meet a new person, when you connect with them, you hear their story. Like, okay, all these stories that you're telling on your podcast, you're opened up, or I'm opened up at least, for hearing those stories and hearing those experiences. And I want to respond to them, and my life is different and transformed for the experience of hearing those stories. And I think the same thing happens when you're in a city, when you're in a place. You can have a conversation with that place. It can tell you something, and if you listen to it and you learn from it, the way you interact with it through planning and design will in turn be more empathic, be more connected, be more in tune with what's needed there.
Yeah, it's a very big part of this building up these skills or learning these skills. It's like just by listening and hearing and trying to be in others people perspective and not only from ours. Like could be by reading or by listening to other stories or just like thinking, right? Like or reflecting.
Yeah, just taking the time to be aware. Something fun I made just in the past year is a guided experience for urban practitioners, where I guide them to go and stand on a street corner in their neighborhood and to open up all their senses and experience what it's like to feel with all those different parts. How is the city influencing me? And then identify what are the different parts of the city that are contributing, and how can I, as an urban practitioner, better make better decisions to improve those experiences.
That's so cool, no?
Yeah, like a secret meditation for architects.
Yeah. Super interesting. Let's talk about Real Play City Challenge. So, like to start with, what is the aim of the Real Play City Challenge?
Yeah, so the Real Play City Challenge is an international competition, and it's designed to help cities overcome pressing global challenges in their local communities, and to do that through playful placemaking.
And who's like behind this challenge? Like who's what do you call it? Like partners or organization?
Yeah, so it's a competition that's led by the Real Play Coalition, and that includes ARAP, Inca Group or IKEA, Lego Foundation, National Geographic, and UNICEF, and Placemaking X. So Real Play Coalition and Placemaking X, and this time Placemaking X is being represented by Stipo and Huasi Pichanga. So a lot of people behind this challenge all coming together.
Yeah. But what was the background of this story of creating this challenge?
Yeah, so the challenge kind of came together because the Real Play Coalition believe that play is like an essential for children to thrive. They understand the importance of play, and they also understand that many urban environments are lacking opportunities for children to play. And at Placemaking X, with some colleagues, we got together a few years back thinking, how can we help more urban practitioners to think about playful placemaking, to think about child-friendly urban planning. And we started to think about all of the different inspiring examples that are going on around the globe and trying to bring those together and learn from each other, like I described before. So we knew that there were a lot of people making these efforts. We knew that there were a lot of people struggling with transforming why we should do it into how we do it well and creating a real impact for kids. And we wanted to kind of gather those efforts and also team up with other organizations that knew the importance of it to do it better. And so with Placemaking X and the Real Play Coalition, we came together to create this challenge as a way of gathering very inspiring case studies, sharing that knowledge and learning together, and then optimizing the potential to scale up the efforts that are already happening around the world.
Yeah. And like who is the target group that you're targeting with this challenge?
Yeah, so there are two groups that are invited to participate or to make applications for the challenge. That's city and placemakers. So placemaking and citywide initiatives. And the reason for that is because the challenge is trying to set out how cities can benefit from supporting placemaking initiatives through citywide frameworks. So when you have these two energies of community-led, locally driven challenges being addressed at a more strategic, like also supported by this more strategic city scale on global issues, it strengthens. So cities are like local governments or municipalities, decision makers, could be mayors, public servants, local authorities, these types of organizations. And then placemakers or urban practitioners. So anybody who's working in an urban area. It includes urban planners, designers, architects, developers, public space activists, social innovators, schools, community organizations, artists, anybody that is creating play where they live.
Yeah. Should it be like only based on placemaking as a method, or no, it could be anything but just related to this topic?
So the important thing is that it creates a place for play. So it needs to have this kind of spatial element to it. And then we really try to encourage the placemaking element as this kind of energizing, local, quick, changing public realm and type of initiative. Yeah, so it should have those elements as well.
Yeah. So how does it work? Like if you explain to us the process, let's say I'm listening to you now, I'm super interested in this, and I have a project to submit. So how is the process?
Yeah. So the competition is open now until the 4th of September. Right now, there are different webinars and podcasts going on, opportunities to ask questions about the challenge and to find out more about the themes of the challenge. We ask for submissions from cities and placemakers until the 4th of September, and then there's a jury that will create a shortlist of finalists, examine like how they're addressing these different themes, and they'll be announced at Placemaking Week Europe, which is in Pontevedra in Spain. And after that, there will be winners announced in November who can then get together through some online sessions.
Nice. You mentioned there will be a specific theme for this year challenge. What is the theme?
Yeah, so the overall theme is about local communities dealing with global challenges. But there are kind of urgent topics that have been identified to help address some of those themes, and there's 3 of those. So the first one is about places where play heals people. We spoke a bit about this. So this is particularly looking for placemaking initiatives that are making a difference in cities that are affected by conflict or migration or a disaster. Then there are places where play supports climate action. So this is initiatives that might add nature-based play or advocate for climate action while reclaiming play in the city, combining those two together for benefiting the people and the planet. And the third one is places where play unites us all. So inspiring examples that show the way forward in providing inclusive play opportunities in cities and neighborhoods and doing more of this kind of social cohesion part. Yeah.
So like three different themes or sub themes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And should if I want to submit a project as a listener, like should it be related to one theme, or I can apply like to three different or three of the
Yeah.
same?
I like ideally it should address at least one theme, and if it takes into account or considers the other themes, it's a benefit. So that's part
Yeah.
of the kind of criteria. How well do you address all of these different things where possible, or how well could you?
Yeah. And what do you like? What do you require as a submission? Like pictures? Like what kind of material do you require? Now I'm getting like to the details.
To apply, you submit your initiative via a Google form and also include a short video with a presentation of your project. Those things you can find on the website.
Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
Cool. Nice. And like creating these themes, I know like you're there are many organizations behind this challenge. So how was the process of creating this the themes?
Yeah. So yeah, it's really like looking at um, what all of these different organizations see as like the pressing challenges and the more strategic challenges that are going on and that everyone is battling with at the moment. And because yeah, because there are kind of more strategic effects of conflict and displacement around the world. Climate change is an obvious topic, and play is much more effective if it can support the diverse and varied needs of the local community. Yeah, these are all like important factors for play to be really integrated, I think, in the fabric of city life and civic life, and also to make those efforts more effective still.
How many years have been this challenge on like going on? Is it like super new or like
Yeah, so this is the second edition. The first one started in 2020. So 2020 to 2021, we did an online edition, adapting best we could. Yep, and then we had like a year to digest, and this year is the second edition being launched. So every 2 years so far.
nice? So Hannah, like tell us about the winner from the previous competition.
Yeah. So in 2020, we had 10 different winners from 6
Like
different continents.
winners or finalists?
Winners.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So uh, there were 10 people who got either like a winning or a special mention. 4 different cities and 6 different placemaking initiatives, and they really were from all around the world. And the city-wide initiatives ranged from the winning initiative, which was Tirana in Albania, where they have developed like a city vision across the whole city, and a way to create safe green spaces for children, and also to regenerate schoolyards into community centres. Those types of efforts more strategically. But also the special mentions included a strategy and a Fuera strategy in Zapopan, Mexico, where they were creating a co-design model with the community, with children, to really take their opinions into account democratically. To Lima, Peru, where they're creating these kind of child-friendly, green, safe, inclusive public spaces, to pop-up initiatives like one in Istanbul, where they were creating play opportunities out of like easily found materials. These were like the city initiatives, so they were quite
Yeah.
diverse in the types of
Yeah,
efforts they were
I
making.
can see like so like basically the competition is not only for cities within Europe, right? It's
No, it's
worldwide
really, yeah,
competition.
it's really all around the world. Yeah,
So
yeah,
any city could apply
yeah.
for this competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Any city that cares about these issues and wants to do something about it is really welcome to apply. And then the winning placemakers, they were like demonstrating the value of these kind of locally driven initiatives as well. We had 3 winners and 3 special mentions, and I'll just mention like a couple of them. But they ranged from different ways of scaling up play opportunities. So one was a BRAC community-based play lab, which was putting play at the heart of disadvantaged areas socioeconomically, and scaling it up in Bangladesh, to an initiative called Plan, which is creating an app to help to develop their learning from playful learning environments, to Noodle Carts, which is a like an inclusive flat-packed loose parts play cart, which can be wheeled into the most difficult of environments and offer opportunities for play in a split second. So there's, like, again, very diverse initiatives, and they're all trying to spread their initiatives further.
But can we find, like, read about the different projects somewhere online, or?
Yeah, you can find out about all the actually all the documents, all of the materials from last year, the winners, the lessons learned. They're all on the website. So that's www.worldplaycitychallenge.org.
Yeah, I can put it in the episode description. I was talking also about, like, the deadlines. Can you mention it one more time to us? Like, what are the coming?
Yeah, the most important deadlines. So the detailed deadlines you'll find on the website, but the most important one is the 4th of September, 2022. That's your deadline for submitting your initiative via the Google form, which is where you need to answer the questions and drop us your video.
And this should be like, I cannot nominate a project. It should be like by a person who works actually with this project,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, if you want to nominate a project, I would recommend getting in touch with that person and encouraging them to do it. Yeah, we're looking for people who are really working on it,
Yeah.
and who can contribute to the efforts that are being made.
Yeah. So 4th of September is the deadline, and like from the 4th until 27th, placemaking week is like the jury work, right?
Yeah, the jury work and the shortlisting time, and then from placemaking week until November, the winners will be announced publicly.
Okay, so the announcement is going to be in November, like for the winners.
Yeah.
Super cool. I'm really, really excited about this, like looking forward to follow this journey. What do you think? Are you going to get like many applications, not so many? What do you think?
I don't know. I hope I would be really happy with, like, very diverse applications.
From different cities and
Yeah, all the different ways that you can create play. That would be inspiring for me to see.
Yeah. Like when you say ways, you mean like policies or hands-on project, or what kind of projects?
Yeah, just like the both, I think, actually. So yeah, if it's cities, like, how can you be innovative, and how are you responding to your context, and like how are you taking your challenges into account? All of that will be very unique, I think, to each place.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm curious to hear what impact people think they can have when they're making the efforts they're making.
Yeah. And like, are you willing to continue with this competition like next year as well, or it's like just something for these 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, we started off in 2020 with the idea that it was, it was a challenge and we'll see what happens. And we were really inspired by the response and by the impact that it had. So yeah, step by step, but of course we're open to expanding further and also encouraging more people to get on board.
Yeah. So the last, let's say the last words about this competition. So why should I, like as a listener, submit my project? So what do you tell to the listener?
Okay, so this would be an opportunity for you to share about what you're doing and to share that with a really global audience, to have access to a group of very diverse organizations who care about what you're doing and who want to help you do it better. And also to meet a whole bunch of people who are trying similar things and who might be facing similar challenges so that you can do it together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm really looking forward to follow the competition, and hopefully maybe like later on, I'm just adding more episode to you, like following up with the winners, like who's the winners, like and why, and like what is jury motivation and so on, like to follow up the story as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So now moving to the final section of this episode, and it's going to be more questions about your reflections and so on. So the first question is about future. So how do you imagine a future city from the playful city perspective, like in 100 years from now, like 2,122. So how do you imagine the city?
I would love to. I'm going to take it back to what I was saying about like really going out on a street corner and experiencing how a city feels. Um, and I think for me, something radical that could happen is that there is far less traffic, far fewer cars, and exhaust fumes that are influencing us. So what that would mean is that like you could be outside listening to the sounds of kids playing and speaking to your neighbor without having to raise your voice. It could mean that you feel fresh air in your lungs, maybe even the smell of nature as you breathe, rather than air conditioning vents or exhaust fumes, and that there are many people, most people, who feel really comfortable letting go of their children's hands so that they can play, and even joining in to even imagine joining in to play with the kids of all different ages.
Yeah. Like in order to be there or to get to this kind of city, what challenges that we need to address and work on? Like if you
Yeah,
if you like mention top three challenges that we really should address and work hard to pass these challenges.
yeah. Um, so one, I think, really important challenge is like a systematic one. Is that the budgets that might make some of these projects available don't naturally fit in specifically dedicated budgets for play. It tends to fall between the gaps, and yet it benefits all of these different funding pots. So climate change, health, transport, um, all cultural budgets, all of these can contribute to play, and it's also quite a challenge to draw them together to bring it into one of these projects. So part of the challenge is integrating it across these different disciplines so that it doesn't fall between the gap, but it becomes a glue for all of those initiatives to work better together. That's one of the challenges, I think, systematically. And another one is about awareness, it's about empathy, it's about really experiencing these different places. So decision makers who have an influence, I really want to get them outside, in those places with kids, with different ages of people, from different backgrounds, to feel how it is. Once you experience that, you don't change back, and that has like a very positive influence on decision making as well. And then I think something that is also challenging for placemaking more generally, but also for playful placemaking, is the need to quickly respond and adapt using whatever materials you have, and to do so also in changing political environments or changing climatic environments. To really keep the motivation to make an effort, whatever that effort is, however big or small, and to trust that it will have a knock-on effect.
True. And Hannah, like I get this question now. I want to ask you this. Like usually people say that like child-friendly city topic is big, and I'm not really a specialist in this. I cannot talk with children. I don't know like how to think about this perspective. And I'm like, it's for some urban practitioner, it feels like this topic is it's too big, and they need really to have the enough good skills to work with it. So like my first reply is for this question is that like I was not born with this child-friendly city skills or perspective, so now I'm asking
Yeah.
you like how do you encourage people to start thinking more about this topic specifically and develop their skills within this topic?
Yeah. Yeah. I
How
would
was it
just,
for you? Like how was it for
yeah,
you?
I would say the same. Like I didn't set out to be a child-friendly urban planner. It just
Yeah,
happened because I found it important and wanted to give attention to it. So, um, uh, I can appreciate that people want to do it well, and that it seems from the response that you're getting that people care a lot about the impact that they have on children in childhood. I think that's a great first start. If you care about it, you're more likely to have a better influence. Um, and I would say that there are many people who do know. I'm not an expert in child development or psychology, but I have worked with people and asked questions to people who are experts and who care about it as well. And the knowledge that I've built up is simply by giving it some time and attention in my day-to-day work, and by asking questions and finding people who can give me the answers. Um, I I prefer to choose not to assume that I know what is best, but to find out what's important to find out, what's important to ask, and then to ask for help from all these different experts on what they think, and to try something and learn from it as you go. So as long as you're open to this um, evolution of learning and evaluating and being honest about that, better to make an effort and to see what works and what doesn't than to make it life difficult.
Do you feel alone, like when you work with this like aspect of urban planning, or there are so many experts?
Yeah, there's a lot. I started working on this about 5 years ago. It seems like there's a lot more people now about. I'm very happy for that. Tend to be
Yeah,
very happy, playful, friendly people. Um, yeah, so I feel there's more and more people who can make some of these efforts, and it seems to be for me to be shifting from trying to convince people that it's important to people knowing it's important and being like, hey, how? And I think that's a positive shift.
yeah. Because I'm also like, how to say, I see more people are interested in this. I'm following the Child Friendly Cities hashtag on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for 1 year ago, there were only 50 people. Now there are so many, like hundreds of people following this hashtag. So I'm also like
Mm,
watching the numbers, you know,
yeah,
and interesting to see like many initiative, competitions, awards, also about this topic. It's very helpful to raise the awareness.
yeah, it is. And I think it's also becoming more common, like there are more articles written about it in more broader media as well, which also helps to spread the awareness. I think actually one of the things that's a bit tricky uh, is that we kind of spread the work on child-friendly cities beyond our current community and our current network to really reach people who are having all kinds of influence on decision making. I think that's also the potential of this challenge to kind of step outside of the people we already know in our existing network and to, also therefore challenge ourselves on these perspectives and learn more about what people need to be able to take it up.
Yeah. But then, like, it's super cool for you because you get in touch with so many people, like by the real City Challenge, right? When you get so
Yeah,
many different projects.
yeah, that's great. Then it's just really exciting to see what everyone's up to.
Yeah,
I find it very inspiring and very motivating as well to keep going. Yeah,
true. And I totally agree with you actually about that. We know like about the what and the why because there are so many researchers about telling like why it's important and showing numbers and all these facts and science-based research. Now it's more like about the why. How do we like transform our cities
yeah,
to make them more child friendly? So this is like what we deal with now.
yeah, yeah. It is. And
Yeah,
I think trying to encourage people to be honest about what is not working as well as what is working and why, so that it can be improved as we go.
yes. And yeah, super interesting. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you. And now we have the last two questions. And
Mm-hmm.
the first one is going to be about you giving me and the listeners 3 takeaway messages related to this topic.
Yeah. So takeaway messages: feel, get outside in the city and feel. Open your senses, empathize with different people, notice like the transformation inside you as you do so. That's my kind of desire for urban practitioners. Second takeaway message is that we can make a much greater impact better together. So that's what the Real Place City Challenge and some of my other work is trying to do, to bring people together. So you're not alone in trying to make these efforts. There are many people out there who are trying to do what you're doing and who would love to help. And my third takeaway message is try, apply to the challenge, put yourself out there. Yeah.
Interesting.
So feel, come together and try.
And try, yeah. Try to come together and feel.
Yeah. We'll fumble around as humans
Yeah.
do, and we'll play in the meantime.
True. So, and the last question is going to be you asking it to me and to the listener. So, what is your question to us?
Yeah. My question would be, what are the most pressing challenges that you have when you're trying to do this, and what help do you need? So I would love to hear from people, what do they need to be able to do this better, or what's stopping them from trying, so that we can try and provide some of that support.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah, and thank you for giving your time. I know it's summertime, and but I'm really happy to record this with you. And hopefully, I'm looking forward to see all the projects coming out from the competition. So thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. Happy to have spoken to you.